will take part in deserts and gardens. He has good. He has good for me. I know my Father. I know my Father has good plans. Surely your goodness and mercy will follow after me. So fear will not find me, 'cause I'll be dwelling in the house of God. Surely your goodness and mercy will follow after me. So fear will not find me, 'cause I'll be dwelling in the house of God. Surely goodness and mercy will follow after me. So fear will not find me, 'cause I'll be dwelling in the house of God. Surely goodness and mercy will follow after me. So fear will not find me, 'cause I'll be dwelling in the house of God. He has good plans. He has good plans for me. So I will take part in deserts and gardens. He has good plans. He has good plans for me. If I know my Father, I know my Father has good plans. God, thank you for letting us all get to be tonight. I pray that the word that Brother Kenny says tonight will speak into the rest of our week and into the rest of our week.
CJ on the box. Thank you so much. Wait, you're a famous actress. You don't have to do these menial tasks. All right. Hey guys, thank you again for being here. Take your Bibles if you would. Turn to Hosea. Hosea. You might wonder where that is. If you look past Daniel, not the one sitting over here, you're going to find it. So Hosea, we're going to be in Hosea chapter 6. So before we get started, King Seeper has an announcement that he wants to make. You remember you said you want to make an announcement? Go ahead and make that now. Everybody give your attention to King Seeper. We didn't put up team points. We'll do right now. Team points. How did I mess it up? I don't know. Just going to blame somebody. Sorry. After week 1, our team points stand. We come pretty tight except for our if you don't remember everything that earns you points, there's posters out on the wall with the iPad. That was quick. Come on. Oh. Very good. Everybody listening? Very good. Nice. King Seaver's keeping up with these points. Yes, sir. December 17th. Tell me. Mm, I like it. And I'll add to that, it will not be a fathead of this. There's one fathead that's walking around that whole conference and it stays on my shoulder, so we're not doing that. I think a beautiful Crossroads logo would be wonderful. But it glows in the dark. Anyway, all right, thank you, King. All right, thank you. Of course, if you were here Sunday morning, one of the things that we were challenged by our pastor is that we need to be in revival. And he started out that conversation with, how many of you believe that our world needs to be in revival? And there were amens that just went everywhere. And it's, how many of you believe that our country needs to be in revival? And there were amens everywhere. How many of you believe our state? And the amens got a little less. And then how many believe our county, our city? And when it got to our individuals, there weren't many people amening. And one of the things that, for those of you that have been watching anything on social media, you saw today that a very vocal Christian was killed today. Charlie Kirk was murdered today. And this is not a political statement, because it's not about liberal, it's not about conservative, it's about evil versus good. And when evil people do evil people, they can wear any tag they want to wear. There are people that do evil things in the name of Christ, and Christ isn't about doing anything evil. So that thought of us needing revival is more important to me right now than it's been a long time. Tomorrow, we look back at September the 11th, when the bombing of the World Trade Centers, the planes flew in, and the Pentagon, and all these things that I lived through. You guys didn't even live through it. But it's things that I live through, and every summer we get an opportunity to go to New York, and we see where the buildings once were, and we see how evil comes in. And this world is celebrating evil. The media celebrates evil because it sells. But folks, I need you to hear this. There is still good in this world. There is still good in this world. It's just overshadowed because the world promotes the evil. But one of the good things is the greatest thing that God ever created, and it's you. You are a miracle, and God created you for a huge purpose. And that purpose is found when we surrender ourselves to Jesus Christ. But the question is do you believe that you need to be revived? If we look at the word revive, that means to bring back to life. And if we look at that through the biblical, we can look, of course, the most amazing one is Jesus Christ, but we also think of when Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. Just imagine, if you would, that someone that you have grown up with passed away, and you're in a community away, but you get the news that he had passed away, and then a couple of days later, you see him walking down the street. Your mind would be blown. You'd be, I guess it was false news. And then he comes to you and says, no, I was dead, but Jesus brought me back to life. That revival that we're talking about is spiritually being brought back to life. And so, how does that look in our eyes? How do we think of revival in our personal spiritual lives? And I would imagine in a group this size, some of you are very content where you are spiritually. Some of you are very content, and this is not throwing shade at anyone, but you're fine with not studying God's word. You're fine with not surrendering 100% to God because it might make you uncomfortable. He might call you to do something that you don't really want to do. So you've received salvation and you're fine with just sitting there on that. But I have to believe if you truly surrender to God, you're okay to follow the direction He leads. Being revived means coming back to life. It's kind of like getting back in the swing. How many of you play video games? Have you ever taken a break from a certain video game for a while, and then when you start it back up, you can't really remember what you were doing last night? So I can't do today's video games. There's way too many buttons on it. But when I was a kid, there was a video game. It was this console called an Atari 2600, and you had a joystick and a fire button. And so we had one of those. We started out with Pong. We had the original, but we were pretty fancy. And about 7 years after it came out and they quit making them, we got one. We got an Atari 2600, and there was Pac-Man, and it was the most amazing, terrible graphic video game in the world compared to what you see today. But it was so much fun, and I would spend hours playing it. And there were patterns that you memorized. And if you memorized the patterns, you didn't have to worry about those ghosts coming to get you. There was no way they were going to get you. And I would just spend hours, and it's almost like I could do it with my eyes closed. And then we went through a season where I didn't play the video games any. And I remember going back in and plugging it up one day and go, I'm going to play Pac-Man. And I couldn't remember what I was doing, and I kept getting killed by the ghosts. And I was so frustrated. I had gotten out of the habit of what I was doing. And I had to kind of retrain myself to get back where I needed to be as far as winning a video game. It's the same thing in our spiritual lives. You remember the moment that you said yes to Jesus. And I want you to truly think about that moment. If you were sitting here today and there was a time in your life where you realized that the sin that's in your life is separating you from God, and you realize that you can't get rid of that sin, and the only way that can be removed is if you ask Jesus to come into your life and you surrender your life to Him. And you say, Jesus, I want to follow you and I want to get rid of this sin. There is an experience that cannot be explained when you have that moment, when you've had that encounter. And for years, people would ask me, how did it feel when you made that decision? And the only way I could ever describe it, it felt like warm water pouring all over me. It was just the presence of God was all over me. I could feel His presence. And it was the most peaceful thing. It's like when I was talking to God and surrendering my life to Him and asking Jesus to come into my life, it's like I couldn't hear anything that was going on. It's like it was just me and God sitting in the room. And I've got my eyes closed because I can still feel it. That moment. For those of you who had a moment, how long did it last? So I've been doing youth ministry for a couple of years now. And I have walked with thousands of teenagers to altars, prayed with them, and then come back home and watch nothing change in them. And I think about that so much because so many times when we're in that moment and we make that decision, that peace is there, that change happens. But when we come back to regular life, we allow something to separate us from what that feeling is. If that's where we are, if that's where you are, that's what revival is about. It's getting you back to that place where you feel the presence of God in everything that you do. And I want you to understand, it's not going to be easy. So Brother James is preaching Sunday, and he's saying, I didn't talk about this to any of the staff. He said, did I, Brother Eddie? And Brother Eddie goes, no, sir. He says, did I, Brother Kenny? And I'll be honest with you, I had zoned out for a second, but I heard Eddie say, no, sir. So I went, no, sir. And then Jessica was like, he was talking about it. He didn't say so. And he says, I believe our church needs to be in revival. And towards the end of the service, he said, I want you to pray this prayer if you genuinely believe you want revival in your life. And he said, God, use me. And I'm sitting there, and y'all know I'm a simple person. And that's a simple statement. He said, God, just use me. I don't know what it is. Just use me. And I try to rationalize it. Go, well, God's using me. I'm a youth pastor. I'm hanging out with students. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. But God, I was made for more. I need to give you more. God, use me. And since the moment I said that, I've been under attack. Here's your warning. If you say yes to Jesus, life's going to get heavy and it's going to get difficult. But the difference is, you got somebody going through it with you. There was a song years ago that we used to sing, Another in the Fire. And it's such a beautiful statement of that. When you are in the flames, when you are in the pressure, when you're in the heavy times, God doesn't leave you. He's walking with you. And that presence is what we want to get back to, where we're not wondering what I should do. We know what we should do because we're following Jesus. We're trusting Jesus. We trust everything in the world. We trust what social media says that we're supposed to like. We trust what our friends say when they tell us what we're supposed to be like. We trust what our parents say when our parents are giving us advice. But we've got to find a way that we trust God in all things that we do. And again, that's not going to be easy because Satan is going to convince you every time that there's a better way. Every time that there's an easier way. I mean, if we look at the Garden of Eden, we see Adam and Eve, and it's a beautiful picture of what life is supposed to be. And then it says that Eve was tempted by the serpent. Did he really say you couldn't eat from this? Did he really say it was going to kill you? Nah, he just don't want you to do it because then you're going to become like him. Satan is going to try his best to divide you from that love that you have for God. And I will be 100% honest with you, it's really easy to fall into that trap because Satan can put some beautiful things out there in front of us. It might be that person that you can want to have a relationship with. Guys, it might be that girl. Girls, it might be that guy. That's the way it goes. That's the Bible. That's the way it goes. Guys with girls, girls with guys. And you might think, if I could just have that person in my life, God might be saying, you don't really need that person. That person will take you down the path you need to go. It might be, if I could just have this car. Man, I've always wanted a Corvette. I rode yesterday to Mississippi in the biggest, fanciest Mercedes I've ever seen. And you talking about somebody that felt like a fish out of water. I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm sitting in leather seats in the big Mercedes, and it's just smooth. Man, it was nice. I'm just sitting there. We go past the car, and they're like, you don't have a car like this. And I felt really cool because I'm just riding in this car. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, if I could have something like that. And about that time, we're starting to come home. And Justin, it was his parents' vehicle. And he said, man, I got in trouble in this thing the other day. I said, really? He said, yeah, I had to go get it from the airport. Mom and Dad owned trips. I went to the airport to get it. He said, when I was coming back, I got on the entrance ramp. And it was one of those entrance ramps where people emerging from north and south coming in. And I saw this car coming. And he said, Justin used to drive race cars. It's not good for a race car person to have a fast car. But he said, I saw that car, and I was like, I got to get in front of him. He said, Kenny, I punched it. He said, the next thing I know, I'm in the passing lane of the interstate, and I look in my rearview mirror, and they hadn't even got on the interstate yet. And as he's telling me this story, I'm like, man, these cars are flying by us. And I look over, and we're exceeding the speed limit a great deal. And God told me in that moment, you don't need something like this, boy. You get in trouble, right? There are things that we think, oh, if I could just have, it's going to fulfill me. Someone in this room is the richest person. Someone in this room is the smartest person. Someone in this room is the greatest athlete. Someone in this room is the strongest person. Someone in this room has more followers on your social media than anybody else. None of that's going to bring you fulfillment because all that can be gone in an instant. But there's one thing that will fulfill your life, and it's that relationship with Jesus Christ. But we find ourselves drug away from it because we follow too many things in too many directions. So for us to be revived, we've got to, and I love the seniors theme this year, we've got to focus where our life is going. There's no point in walking around aimlessly. There is a focus that you can have that's going to draw you to Jesus Christ if you allow it to. So to be revived means I've got to turn my attention back to the one that has brought me from death to life. Because when you say yes to Jesus, you are a new creation. You are born again. And that's where we need to stay. And it doesn't matter what the world says. That relationship with Jesus is the most important thing. So how can we be revived? It's by simply saying yes back to Jesus. It says in Lamentations that every day your mercies are new. Every day you have a new opportunity to surrender yourself to Jesus Christ. Revival should happen every morning when you wake up. I grew up, of course, child of the 70s. And Jimmy, you're going to remember this. And Ricky, you'll remember this. You remember the week-long revivals we used to go to? You go to work all day, or you go to school all day, and you come home and your parents go, "We're going to revival," and there will be somebody that screams and yells for 45 minutes, and there's some older lady that's going to sit down at a piano and she's going to bang out notes, and they're going to let's stand and sing this hymn, and you're going to flip through 37 different hymns, and it's just going to be the longest. Oh, but that was revival, and you would wait every year. Y'all just wait till revival comes. We got a guy that was a missionary in Africa. He's got a slideshow. Oh, that one's upside down. That elephant wasn't laying on his back. He was really standing. Yes, sir. That's what I grew up in. And then we moved away from that because we realized that, people aren't going to give up the whole week, so you did shorter revivals. And now you're in a season now to where big churches that do revivals, they do them on Sunday mornings for a month because they know they're not going to get folks to come back during the week. But the thing is a revival has nothing to do with where you meet, what kind of music you listen to. All it's got to do with your surrender to Jesus Christ. And every day you have the opportunity to say yes to Jesus. That's revival. This is revival. I can't tell you how much I've cried and prayed over the past 6 months. God, do something special with these students. These seniors, y'all get to come to y'all bless us by coming to our house. And when y'all left the other night, that was the first thing that I thought, God, do something amazing in these seniors. Do something in these seniors that's going to last for the next 7 or 8 years. So that other students will get excited about who you are. But it starts with Kenny. And so I prayed. And I have prayed since Sunday morning. God, do something. Use me. And I have been hit. And I've had black eyes. And I have just walked into walls, and it seems like everything I do is wrong. And I just had to start laughing. Miss Jessica looked at me last night, and I was just saying, and she said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Because the show we were watching wasn't funny at all. It was some English thing. It might have been funny. I can't understand real English. I don't know what they're saying." So I'm just kind of laughing. And she said, "What?" I said, "Man, since Sunday, I feel like Satan has just sat beside me." And she's reading a book by Louis Giglio called "Don't Let the Enemy Have a Seat at Your Table," something like that. She picks the book up and shows it to me the other day when I was complaining about how I was under attack. And I told her, I said, "Satan isn't at my table. He's in my pocket right now. He's standing right here on my hip. He's like directed me because I'm so beat up right now." And when I started laughing the other night, she said, "What are you laughing about?" I said, "He can't win." And she was like, she's looking at the TV, and she said, "What are you talking about? He's trying to figure out who killed somebody." I said, "But he can't win." And she was like, "Well, he'll figure it out. He does every show." I said, "No, no, no. Satan can't win." Miss Jessica, bless her soul. She looked at me and she went, "Yeah, I know." I said, "I know." I had to remind myself because I said yes to Jesus. It doesn't matter what Satan throws at me. It's going to only last for a season. Your troubles are going to come in waves. The beautiful thing about wave, it's going to come in, it's going to smack you. It's going to go away. And when it goes away, you're still standing because Jesus is standing with you. Hosea chapter 6, starting at verse 1. It says, "Come, let us return to the Lord. He has torn us to pieces, but he will heal us. He has injured us, but he will bind up our wounds. And after 2 days, he will revive us. And on the third day, he will restore us, that we may live in his presence." One of the things that God does is when he reveals the sin in your life, it hurts. And that's the part where we feel like we're broken. When he starts removing things from your life because you say yes to him in a different way, it's going to hurt because he's going to pull things off of you that you feel you have to have. It's going to hurt. But it says that he will heal those wounds. The beautiful thing about God is when you say yes to him, he will take something away and replace it with some more of him. When he strips away the things that doesn't need to be in your life and you finally say yes to that, it's going to hurt and you're going to feel empty for a moment, but he's going to fill it with some more of him. That's revival. And my prayer for you is that you don't just hear Brother James talk about this church needs to be in revival, that you will take that as I need to be in revival. The question is, are you willing to come back to life? Are you content where you are? Let's pray. Father, I thank you for tonight, Lord, the opportunity to hang out with these students for a little bit. Lord, thank you for your word that you give to us. God, I thank you so much for having an identity in you. Lord, when I walk around and feel like I don't even know which way is up, you're still with me. When I find myself falling away from what you've called me to be, you're still with me. When I find myself on the top of the mountain and everything seems to be wonderful, you say that you will never leave us or forsake us. And for some people sitting in here, they've forgotten. God, help us to fall back in. Help us to renew that relationship. Help us to crawl back into the arms of our Heavenly Father and allow Him to pour that warm water over us and fill us with your Spirit again. Because, God, when that Spirit lands on us, we can't help but share it with someone else. God, in the earthly size, give us hope for the changed. In the earthly size, families can be changed. In the earthly size, I mean, let's face it, you change the world with disciples, it was 11. Not going to change the world with these folks that are sitting here. But it comes with their surrender to you and their yes to you and their willingness to allow you to bring back to life. Lord, may our life be more full because of who you are, and may we share that with every person we come into contact with. Amen. Thank you, folks. I love y'all bunches.